Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Really excited today to welcome Megan Kuiper. She is a passionate and energetic woman that I met recently who I just adored. And she's dedicated to making the most out of every day, which is exactly the reason I was attracted to her. With a clear vision for her life, she teaches others how to tap into their own fire and achieve their goals. She balances many roles, including being a wife, a mom, a former Target corporate director turned entrepreneur. As a keynote speaker, consultant, and coach, she brings over 21 years of culture and leadership development experience to help others find their own energy and desire. And her mission is to spread positivity and energy to anyone interested in discovering their own potential, and has found success in introducing these principles into organizations, big and small, to fuel team culture and business growth. So, Megan, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here. Your energy is so contagious, and I'm excited for this conversation.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
All right. So tell me, first question, why did you want to participate in the summit? What about a summit of women leading boldly attracted you?
Well, just that alone, like I cannot get enough of sitting at the same table with fellow women leaders that are ready to really be their boldest self and tap into their greatness and inspire others to do the same. So when I saw that your audience was going to be full of amazing leaders all over the world, I was like, I want to spread some energy and also some belief and share the belief that I've grown to build up with them to really tap into their dreams and learn how to be their boldest, authentic self while still crushing their career goals.
Okay. So before we get into that subject of dreams, because
Yeah.
I think it's also extremely interesting and very unique angle, tell us a little bit about you and your backstory and why you came to do what you do today.
Sure. Okay. So I'm very proud. I'm in my 18th month of full on entrepreneurship, but I wouldn't be here today doing this and serving others in this space if I did not have the past 21 and a half years behind me of being a corporate leader in the retail space. And I worked for Target, of course, and my role was turning around stores culturally and operationally. And through that journey, I also introduced three young boys into our life. We have three awesome. And I have a husband who's so supportive. And our family dynamic really allowed me to soar very quickly at Target. And I loved inspiring teams and seeing the correlation of an engaged, happy team and how it just translated over to really big growth in results as it relates to sales and guest traffic and all those things. But during my journey, it's probably been like 7 years ago now, I will say, I was just crushing it in my career, taking on these awesome opportunities. But I started to have these moments where I was driving to work and I had this heaviness in my chest and I didn't know what it was. And I started to feel overwhelmed and my confidence started to sway a little bit. And I was so confused because as a high achiever, I am someone naturally that will always figure things out and serve each other, serve others to my highest power. But I also realized I really wasn't serving myself anymore. And I had this beautiful life and family around me, but I wasn't feeling fulfilled anymore. And I, of course, hid this sensation. And especially being, a senior leader, when everyone's looking to you to be the one lifting them up, I just felt like I had to keep pushing until really I feel like the Lord introduced me to panic attacks, which sounds terrible. But I needed something to like slow me down. And my supportive husband was never going to do it. And all the leaders that believed in me at Target were pumped about all I was doing. But when I had my children helping massage my back on the way to a family vacation because I was bawling my eyes out and I didn't know why, it was my wake up call that I needed to figure out why I was feeling this way. And in that journey of self-discovery in those years, I really realized that my identity had become my career and my worth. And I needed to untangle that situation and start feeling the day again and, learn how to show up for myself, for my family and my career and not be so heavy just in the career space. And in that pivotal time, I started working with a coach. And in that in the next 6 months, I untangled this idea that the highs and lows at work were going to be how I felt too from day to day. And I was able to get me back and build my energy and show up as a mom how I really wanted to show up and as a wife. And actually, when I was doing that, my target results actually were soaring even more, but it felt healthy again. And I was excited. The truth is, which we're going to get into, the thing that really, not only working with a coach, but really I started to dream again and allow space for me to think about really what my life mission was and how I wanted to show up. And I started dreaming and it started to fuel energy in me and guidance in terms of like really living my purpose. And then in that journey, I started sharing this philosophy. And it was just so special how I could serve, obviously, my target team by allowing them to dream. And we're going to talk more deeply about it. But that's a little bit of my story that I feel like I love to share because I think so many leaders, especially senior leaders, are secretly struggling with this feeling of being so tied to achievement and, goals in the career space that it becomes everything. And we kind of can lose ourselves in it. I feel like even unintentionally. And we can kind of form a little too much. And I believe dreaming helps separate that from happening. So
tell us a little bit this idea of dreaming concretely, because also what you said is you also talk about feeling healthy again. So I'd love to come back to that point at some point in time, because I think it's such an important point because people, or also the women that I work with quite a bit, it's a lot of times it's all or nothing. Yes. And they get to that point. For me, it was insomnia. For you, it was panic attacks. Yes. And so many people suffer then from that. And there is another way. And I think that it's important for people to realize that. So thank you for sharing your story. And tell us all about the dreaming, because it's just, I think women in midlife, most of them don't do it.
Yes. And I think about kind of touching back on taking care of myself and ourselves as leaders. First and foremost, I really started to understand that my energy equaled the amount of impact I was making or not making. And I do think I came out of the womb with a lot of energy, and my mom would say the same thing. But we really have to be intentional about creating it and generating it. And so for me, dreams give me energy. When I made that connection, that when I woke up each morning and thought about my big dreams, not just the ones that I could achieve that month, I mean like the big scary ones, it started to like get, build this new kind of energy that was intertwined with like courage and boldness. And it like made me start having more life again. And for me, I started writing down in my journal every day, I worked for me. And it wasn't anything bad about my career I was in. I just saw that I had some special gifts that I could serve others in a more impactful, bigger way than just being in a box per se in my current role. And so I'm not kidding. I literally every day from I think like 2019 to 2023 wrote down I work for me every day. And so, it was a long journey of getting to this point and building up that belief system and letting go of certainty, which feels so good when we're in that corporate space. But that simple dream, it helped me start sitting at tables with people that I never would have put myself in. And I started hanging around and being a part of more things with people that had what I wanted, not like financial or, things, but more like they were speaking on stages and they were coaching others. And when I started being in those spaces, I could like envision myself doing it. And this is all while I was still a target. And it was really neat, actually. I had an amazing boss that like nurtured this in me too. And she knew my dream. It just started to become this like concrete thing that I was like, hold on, dreams bring life in others. And so it was really neat, even in my target space. When I just left my last store, it was, we had over 300 team members. And to this day, I could tell you what each one of their dreams were, whether it was to, save money for school or bring their family to a vacation or whatever that was. And the kind of connection in an organization when everyone knows each other's dreams and they're cheering each other on and nurturing those. I always joke, like, I feel like my team would have like picked up my store and moved it across the street if I asked them to, because the commitment and camaraderie and connection that was so tight in my buildings really created these amazing results. And more importantly, this human connection that gave so much meaning to our days. And so it's fun and how it can perpetuate itself in different spaces too.
And so what happens though when somebody says, I don't have a dream?
Awesome.
I don't think of anything. I can't find anything
Yeah.
because they're so used to living in either the day to day, or they have limiting beliefs, or
Absolutely.
they never had any role models also that showed them that actually something else is possible. How do you help people see that there is possibility for them?
Yeah, I think about, well, actually, when I work with clients one-on-one, a big part of it is helping them find clarity on their dreams. Because your question is so valid, because I think we, over time, forget what our dreams were. I mean, I think we can all remember back when we were kids and we were like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I think a lot of our dreams are actually in us. They just need to be dusted off. And so I love to take people through different activities to help them dust those thoughts and beliefs and dreams off, because I believe we just lost, the dust buildup got very high over the years, and we just start tending to our families and serving others more than ourselves. And we lose, some of that dreaming just organically in our journey. And so I love helping people really think about like starting. A former client, or a client told me this once. It finally clicked with her. She was struggling. She was a senior leader in her company, or is a senior leader still in her company. And she just could not figure out what her dreams were. And then they were celebrating one of her kids' birthdays that weekend. And it all of a sudden clicked, like that moment when you're blowing the candles out, you close your eyes and you say, make a wish. And so really kind of even reflecting on what that wish has been all these years helped
Mm,
her, but that was a perfect example of actually her dreams were always down in there, but she was keeping them quiet. And when we put a
mm,
voice behind them and start talking about them and doing steps, baby steps to work towards them, you get clarity along the way. And, I always talk about dreams. Sometimes it's like when you put in a destination on your GPS and then you all of a sudden see a pretty stop you want to stop at with your loved ones. And you're like, oh, hold on, let's get off the road and check this little cool restaurant out. And then the GPS redirects and it gives a new end time. And that's kind of how our dreams are too. Like, it's not this like linear, journey, but as we take action, we get clarity, and it is twisty and there's turns, but it's fun. That's okay. There is
mm,
no timeline. I feel like our dreams are infinite, but number one is getting clear on them. And number two is having flexibility with them.
mm,
And then just, again, taking that action. But I will say, like, I was doing keynotes for companies while I was still at Target, and it was so neat. My team knew that was my dream at the time. And like, they're all cheering for me. They all are wanting pictures as I get off the stage, and I come back to the store and they're all like cheering for me. And that is so cool.
mm.
And so, as the leader, walking the walk and talking the talk too, is really powerful too.
Yeah. No, I think that what I loved about what you said is it's also about baby steps
Yes. Yes.
and recognizing that you don't always know how you're going to get there.
Yes.
But at least, and tell me if you agree,
Yeah.
but at least either saying it out loud
Yes.
or writing it down, I think is part of it, either plants the seed or it makes it concrete. So I don't know if that is part of your process, but that was mine also, was to someday move out of Paris. I'd lived in Paris for 31 years. And it just, because I'd said it, I'd written it, I didn't know when, I didn't know how. But the opportunity, it's like putting that energy out into the universe. And then one day the universe just says, okay, it's time. So do you also agree with that?
I do.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
actually heard last year, I was at a conference, and one of the leaders said, be careful what you tell God or the universe, because they're listening all the time. But yes. And, when we get into the dream model, I've kind of made it a framework, I guess, to kind of like start putting this into action. But one piece of it is accountability. And, when we share it with the world and then gain accountability partners, whether it's your spouse or a colleague or a coach you're working with, it really is so helpful, because it's like, we need coaches to help us, just like our kids need coaches and teachers at school. Like, we need that push a little bit and that support along the way. And I just believe when we have accountability along with saying it out loud, like, it really happens. It's crazy. And sometimes, like when I'm working with my coach every week, sometimes he'll be like, we need to reassess your dreams because you're in it. You're doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. So it's fun to have that accountability, also celebrate like, hold on, I'm doing it type thing
Yeah.
too. So
So tell us a little bit about your framework, because you've broken it down. You're extremely successful with your clients. So tell us a little bit about the process and the thinking that you take them through so that they can also, so that people know it's also possible for them.
yes, yes. So the first, I have the dream is the acronym of the letters dream. So the D stands for dedicating time. And I just feel like I'm a morning person, but having a routine to have quiet time with yourself. I mean, I'm talking like 5 minutes or less to just sit with your dreams is very, very powerful. And, I think oftentimes we're moving 90 miles per hour. And this little shift in dedicating time each day, whether it's at lunch at your desk or like I said, I'm a morning person, or you're sealing it in before you go to bed at night, whatever that looks like, it really just starts nurturing this idea where you can like envision yourself stepping into this dream, and it's powerful. So the D stands for, dedicating time. The next is R, and that's for repeating it daily. I think like any habit, habits are a great thing. And we repeat this healthy habit of dedicating time with our dream each day. It just, like you said, I mean, it starts happening. And,
Yeah.
Again, there's no timeline. It could be like years down the way or in a couple months or whatnot. But I just think repeating it daily and also not being rigid with this routine. Like mostly I'm a morning person, but on the weekends when we sleep in and have family time, sometimes I just come in my office here and it could be any time of the day. But it's enough to like energize me for the rest of the moments after that time, because literally I think about my next dreams and I'm like, my gosh, I'm going to do it. And then it's fun, obviously, on a side note, too, to tell it to your family and those that you love, because then they're behind you, too. And,
Yeah, that's true.
it's really cool. So the R is repeating daily. The E is like really elevating your dream. I always talk about like our dreams should be loaded with courage. And I'll tell a quick little story, but one of my clients, or not clients, one of my executive leaders at Target in my last store I was at, he had a dream of joining a pickleball team. So, okay, this might seem like little, but he was a high achieving executive that never would leave the store. Like he was so dedicated and wanted everything to be just so, but he was also newly married and they were trying to grow their family or make a family actually. And playing pickleball, I helped him make sure he was getting out on time and, he could attend these tournaments, all these things. And that dream was so special because yes, it was just playing pickleball, but it took a lot of courage for him to shift his mindset at a young 30 something's age that actually his worth isn't his results at the store every day. And it's more about starting a beautiful marriage and helping him to have like dinner with his wife at night versus like coming home late and working too long. And it's so fun that pickleball created that, piece. And that did take courage because it was a habit change. But so his, the E in elevating your vision, it wasn't just pickleball. It was more about this, like, hold on, I want a life rich in family first. And then career comes next. And so it was really neat. And in that year, they also got pregnant. And, it was just fun to be a part of that journey to see like that simple dream elevated his life so much. So, and then the A stands for accountability, like I kind of mentioned a little bit ago. And I just think it's really important that we have accountability around these big, bold dreams of ours. And for me, like I work with several coaches, my business partner, my family, they always know the next thing because I need that support. And accountability is really important when our belief gets shaky or we are having those doubt strands like that have a hold on us sometimes. I feel like, accountability sometimes can sound like, a tough word, but really I think it's more, I think of it as more of a line of support that gets to the next level of living or leading. And then the N is move. So like that is all about, okay, we're sitting with these dreams and we can vision them, but then we got to start taking these actions on them. And I think sometimes that seems obvious, but that can be where people get halted. Like they just get stuck. And I still remember when I, again, was on this journey of saying I work for me and didn't even know what that really meant fully. I remember I got my first brand photo shoot. And I remember, it was such a fun experience. And I remember working with a photographer and she's like, what are you going to do? Or like, what are your offerings? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, you don't know. But I remember leaving that space feeling like my energy was like through the roof. But it was one of my action activities to work because I wanted to have like cool polished photos of me. And it did just that. And then the next thing was like building a website. And then that journey, I started working with someone that was like, you need to be a speaker. You need to help organizations. And then that's where you just start getting clarity when you start moving those actions. So that is my dream framework that I'm so proud of because it's a really simple concept that I just have been seeing in my target journey. And even now as I work with other organizations, help so many people. And, it's not about this or that. I love that dreams integrate whatever journey you're on. It's not like I'm helping everyone to become an entrepreneur necessarily, but that's their dream. Yeah. But, I feel like this brings life to an organization. It brings life to individuals, and it just gives us something to reach for every day. That's really exciting.
And so what is the hardest part for people? Is it dusting them off? Is it taking action?
Really?
Is there a certain part in this in the framework that's more challenging or is it different for everybody?
It really is unique to the person, I would say. I mean, one of my clients, I'm so proud of her. In week 2 of working together, she was like, okay, I want to write a book. And I was like, okay. And she's top of the heap in her company and just an amazing leader. And that was about 18 months ago, and her book was just published in January, and it's a #1 Amazon bestseller right now. I'm like, holy, it's so neat. But then there's others that like I'm still nurturing that and helping them pull it out. And one thing I love to do when I work with people one-on-one is like sometimes they're having blocks in relationships or their health journey. And I feel like for our dreams to get in that action state, we also have to identify if there's like other barriers happening. And then once we can work through that, it usually opens up the gates for this to come behind the dream. And
okay.
I mean, I even found that in my own journey. I don't know if you've experienced anything like that too, but
Well, I think, yeah, I think for most of the clients that I've worked with, I find they're actually quite scared to say something out loud because a lot of them are women. They're supposed to be doing the thing at home, or they're supposed to be, there's just so many societal norms that, and especially in Europe, because I work with a lot of European women, it's very difficult for them to step outside the box. And I just want to share one that I'm actually very proud of is my daughter, who's actually going to be interviewed during the summit because she's 3 and she has founded 3 companies.
That's amazing.
And when she came out of college, the expectation by everybody is get a job, go work for somebody, financial stability. And she's like, that's not what I want. She says, so she wants to write a book. And in order to write a book, she wants to build a business for financial security. And for her to, own that at 23, it's rare today, but I think it is so important because there's so much that this life offers, and to be stuck in something where you're unhappy, you're not fulfilled, or or there's sometimes I see it as also this little intuition that's calling you, and there's something inside, but you haven't yet like released it.
Yes.
I think it's just so important. So the work you are doing is absolutely, I think, fundamental. Tell me a story about one of your clients.
Yes.
Maybe we've talked about the one that just wrote the book and the pickleball, also a gentleman who started playing pickleball. But what is one that came to you that was maybe really scared, and how did he or she kind of release that fear and create something, or is on the path to create something?
Yes. So I'm actually working with a client right now through my program, Time to Shine, which is again where I help define your dreams and get clarity, and also, like I said, remove some blocks and then start taking action. She is a dentist, so she has her own practice, and She actually attended a dream retreat I held in the fall. And so we had never worked together before that retreat. And just the retreat alone was very transformational for her as it related to just getting awareness and clarity that she has a beautiful family around her, similar story in terms of like she has a lot of success, but it's just feeling like her wheels are spinning. And her story is unique as we're continuing to work together because her dream right now is to just take care of herself and her family and learn how to create balance. And I love that. And I think that's exactly where her dreams need to be right now. And I love, there's all kinds of spectrums of the dream thing, but we're still just kind of like working through how she can elevate her connections with her daughters and her husband and have end times at work instead of taking one more client, one more client, one more client, and creating boundaries in that space, and how she can take care of her health so she can get back to doing the exercise she loves and have time for it. So she's someone special that I'm enjoying working with right now because it's a much slower process, and that is just fine.
Mm,
And I think
okay.
when we give ourselves permission that kind of, you said it earlier, there really is no timeline. And I think as high achievers, we think there is, and then we feel behind, and then we feel bad about ourselves and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's really neat that she's embracing this journey, but on her own timeline. Each week when we connect, we start with wins, of course, and her wins are just exploding. And it's like special wins, like she and her daughters before bed, they're middle school age. They write a focus word for the next day that they're going to focus on, because I always talk about, well, we focus on, we find. So if we're focusing on love, we will find love all day long. And just those little shifts, it's like the small moments become the big moments all of a sudden. And just to see that coming to life with her is so special.
Mm, wow. No, I love it. I love it because it also goes to show some people think they're like, I don't dream because it has to be big and
Yes.
scary, which it can. But what you just said also, it can actually be something that is closer by, that
Yeah.
is maybe more
The lifestyle
of
shift.
what you need now. Yeah,
Yeah.
lifestyle shift. Okay.
Yeah. And I
I
think
love it.
we can, myself included, this world can be very distracting. Like, we have technology all the time, and we are just on point all the time. And when we can learn to have these like present moments with ourselves and with our families, distraction free, it is it's like her current dream right now, but it's going to open doors. I don't know what next for her, but it's just, I can feel things like cooking that are going to be so beautiful on the other side of this. And like your amazing daughter, her daughters are going to follow suit like your daughter is, where they're watching your daughter watch her mom fulfill the dream of moving to a smaller town in France, right? And working for yourself and
Yeah.
lifting people up. Like it's no accident your daughter's doing that. She's watching you. So
Yeah.
good job
Yeah.
to you. And I'm so proud of my client that's doing the same right now. She's like, kind of like nurturing the soil that her kids are growing up in.
Yeah.
So that they will also choose a similar path for themselves and not be so tied to, like what you're saying, getting out of college and just getting a corporate job because that's what everyone kind of gears our kids to sometimes, or whatever, or steers. So.
Yeah, serious. And so what are you working to right now? If that's not too much of a personal
Yeah.
question, like what is your next dream? Because you talked about becoming a speaker, which I know you do, and you talked about owning your own business, which you do now.
Yeah.
What are you working towards?
So one of my dreams, actually, it's so fun that you and I connected like 2 or 3 months ago now. I remember when I met you, even that day I got off and I talked to my husband about you, and I was like, it's so neat to see the work you're doing and that I'm doing, and you're, far away from each other. And I love that we can like be united in this like mission to serve and all that. But anyway, I say that because I love that you're in France, because I keep telling my family, like, I want to serve beyond like the US and speak on stages to thousands. And, when I got the opportunity to collaborate with you even on this, I was like, can I say that I get to work with people all over the world now? And so anyway, I just really believe in the message I'm sharing, and I want to share my energy and gifts with the world and not just the US. So really, making an impact, a greater impact, is a big dream of mine right now in terms of just like geography even. And then another thing, I just been talking to my family about is really, I would love to speak on a stage to thousands. And my nature is I always dance my way up to stage, and I envision like getting a choreographer of some type helping me actually have real moves and not just my own moves on stage to get things started. But I am excited to like speak on big stages. Like I've gone to watch others, and again, just hope this big ripple effect of helping everyone dream again.
Yeah.
No matter
And
whatever the profession is or wherever they're at in their life at the time too.
And I just want to put this out there because it's so, like, one of the things you said earlier, which I strongly believe in, is putting yourself in situations that either inspire you or challenge you. And I just want to come back to this conversation for our listeners, the one that Megan and I had a couple months ago, because when we got off that conversation, I was like, maybe I could be a speaker. Yeah. That's how much that inspired me. And I'm like, my corporate job, I did a lot of presenting, but I never saw myself as a speaker. So that planted seeds. And I just have to say that the moment this is being recorded, I have 2 speaking engagements, and one of them is paid.
Oh my!
A paid speaking engagement, simply because I had a conversation with Megan 2 or 3 months ago. And so I would just like to encourage, and it's planted a seed also in me. I'm like, and I want to tell everybody to go onto Megan's website because you can also see her speaking. Oh, yeah. She's amazing.
Thank you.
And her energy, if you are just listening to this, also go on YouTube. You will see her energy is contagious. Just daring to even think it, for me, that is also a dream. That's kind of the way that I see it. And daring to say it out loud, could I? And that, it just changes everything.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just got major goosebumps when you said you have 2 speaking events, because I would have figured that you already are a speaker because you innately have the gift of capturing me and other audiences, and it's fun to follow you on socials and things like that. So I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. No, it's very exciting. And yeah. So anyway, watch this space, but I love it. And I think it was also part of, like you said, also doing this summit, just wanting to create more impact.
Yeah.
And that maybe comes down to one of my last questions is, for people to have dreams, do you think they need to have a very strong why? Can it be a small why? Do they have to have a why? Like, how is that linked to fueling a dream?
Absolutely. I think 100% yes. And I think our why is really our purpose. And I think when I'm helping people get close to their why, we do lots of like reflection activities. I feel like, my why of doing this is to be able to design my days to be present with my family. And for a very small amount of time, I have everyone under the roof still, but that's going to be changing very soon in terms of them going to college and things like that. My boy is going to college, but the why is the big connector, I believe. And when I think of my children and my husband, like I almost get choked up every time because I would do anything for them. Like that's why. And so I have to borrow that courage knowing that I'm doing it for them sometimes before I get on a stage and I'm a little on the nervous side. I'm like, oh, they believe in me so much and I want them to believe in themselves so much. And, I do think being connected to your why is so powerful all the time. In fact, when I work with my clients, we, by the end, create a purpose statement, and mine's hanging in the bathroom, our bathroom, and our personal bathroom, although my children are in there often. And it's fun. It's been hanging for a couple of years now, and they see they're my why on the back of the door. And I just think that's powerful. And I want, them to carry these things with them too when they're on their own. And so I do believe that. I love that you asked that.
Oh, that's so powerful. And it's just setting the example for our children. How many times have they seen that in your bathroom?
Yes.
And they'll take that with them, subconsciously, because that is just constantly planting seeds on what is important for their mom. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. So, we could go on forever, but tell me, is there anything we've missed that, you would love to mention? And also tell us, I know you have an exclusive gift.
Yes.
Yeah, for our listeners.
Yes. I think covered everything, but I just think that I want to tell everyone listening that you are worth it. And it's so important to listen to that voice inside. When we start listening to our heart and and that voice, we really do get clarity, and sitting in spaces with other people that are doing what you want to do someday is really, really beneficial. So even just listening, I hope that everyone will be a little bit more inspired to take that next action. So, and the gift that I'm excited to give you all is an exclusive gift I created just for this. And it's a coaching opportunity. It's a 10-minute coaching session with me that you can listen to, and it will help you start getting clear and thinking about what your dreams are. And I share 4 steps on how to make that happen. And then the second piece of it is how do you start influencing your household and your family and your loved ones to start buying into your dreams with you? Because I believe that's a very, very important step. And for me, when it was that moment that I had that, like, okay, it's time. I'm going to officially go out fully on my own. I remember going on a date with my husband, and I was like, he did not know I had an agenda because we go on dates often. But I remember having the courage to have a conversation and saying, I would love to pick a date, like my end date. And he looked at me and he just said, I'm in. And he's very practical. I used to say frugal, but I realized that's not very nice. So I was very nervous about him saying that, but he said, I'm in, like that. And that's because I had been so outward with this big dream of getting to do this. And we just balled at the bar together. I just will never forget that moment. But I do think I'm excited to teach you all how to start getting your family involved and those that you love the most and spend a lot of time with. Because once they're on board, it helps support you start moving forward faster on your dreams.
Yeah, I'm so glad actually that you came back to that, because now that I've been thinking about it, that's probably a reason why people are very scared also. Because the brain doesn't like change.
Yes.
People don't like change. And when you actually say your dreams out loud, that in itself is a huge act of courage. Yes. And I'm assuming people around you are not going to always react supportively. No. So getting them on board. Yes. Oh my gosh, if you could teach that, I would absolutely. I mean, please go download and follow Megan on
You'll be able to take it in 10 minutes. You'll be like, okay, I got this, because it's probably one of the biggest barriers. Actually, people fear what their spouses are going to think or say, or they maybe have already given them feedback about their idea and it hurt. And so this is a way to kind of work through that and keep going and not let it delay you too long.
Okay. All right. Megan, tell us, where can we find you? And of course, in the show notes, I will link everything. But tell us a little bit, if the listener wanted to go immediately and find you, where would they do that?
Sure. I mean, definitely it's fun to engage on LinkedIn. Megan Kuiper. It's super easy to find me there. And then you can definitely explore my website. It's megan-kuiper.com, like hyphen dash. And on Instagram, Megan M. Kuiper. But yes, I would love to interact and connect you and include you in my weekly inspirational emails I send. And I would love to get to know you.
Well, thank you. This has been so amazing. I hope we can have more conversations like this in the future, because I just think it is so important. So thank you so much. And yes, thank you, listeners, for tuning in.
All right. Thank you for having me.